Hello there everyone, I am Mr. Brass, and welcome to Deistic Substitution, the sequel. Now recently, Christian apologist S.J. Thomason made a video entitled 11 Questions That Atheists Cannot Answer. Now, like the last Deistic Substitution series I will be responding to questions, although from a different perspective here. I found the questions to be rather easy, and I felt that I, as a deist, could answer them. For this video, I will try to get at this from an atheist perspective.
How do you explain why the early Christian martyrs preached for decades, saying they saw the risen Christ?
Not just have atheists answered this, but a New Testament scholar has. Bart Ehrman said the following when asked about this in his debate with William Lane Craig. I hear that claim a lot, but having read every Christian source from the first 500 years of Christianity, I'd like him to tell us what the piece of evidence is that the disciples died for their belief in the resurrection. Now with that said, we are uncertain how many actually went to their deaths. Of what we can say, around 2 James, Peter, and Paul died, and some of that can be questioned. Also, it is good to note that a lot of them who did die for their belief in the resurrection, they were not actually witnesses to the event. So for all we know, they falsely believed it and got killed in the name of it despite that. So at best we can say 2 apostles and 2 converts got killed. That's hardly the 12 that we hear about a lot.
2. How do you explain the rise of Christianity to between 5 and 6 million by 313 when it was finally legalized from such humble roots?
The same way I can explain the rise of Islam, any general political movement, and memes. A good marketing team along with being at the right place at the right time. It has really nothing to do with the truth of its claims. Jesus was nothing special in terms of people who made big claims about themselves. In fact, the Bible pretty much admits as such, like if you go into Revelations and false prophets and stuff. And in fact, Jesus himself was not what the Jews were expecting, which is why the Gospels had to try really hard to answer objections. Plenty of people before and after Jesus made big claims about themselves. The only thing that separates Jesus from them is his marketing team and the context of the society he grew up in. Paul was a smart man who wasn't an eyewitness to the event, who played a great part in it, and knew how to convince pagans, which would be a tactic that later Christians would follow.
3. What powered inflation of the universe?
I don't know, as I am not a scientist. And neither do you if you're going to be completely honest about it. God of the gaps won't help matters much in this situation.
4. Why are humans spiritual?
Because it has reproductive benefits and helps order societies, which is what people like Michael Blume argues in his scientific work, and as Jonathan Haidt shows in his book The Righteous Mind. I'm overall agnostic on spiritual experiences and their connections to reality, on whether they have an objective basis or not.
5. Where did consciousness come from?
Consciousness is a user illusion of the brain. There is no I, just me, and consciousness is just a small fraction of a bigger and larger unconscious map of the world. The world our brain is interacting with is simply processed and chewed out information. Think of us like a robot where we think we have control and knowledge of our brain, when in reality we don't. We don't understand the complex mechanisms that go inside our head to make us do an act that seems on the surface level to be simple, just like how we don't know the complex mechanisms that go inside the phone for what seems like a simple task that we are doing. The only difference between us and the phone is the fact that we've been programmed to relate to others, which requires us to have some reflection of ourselves to survive, which can be explained by evolution.
6. How do you explain what some have called our sixth sense?
If by the sixth sense you mean in terms of seeing ghosts, angels, heaven, auras, etc., I can say that it's a trick our mind does. I can bite that it has evolutionary advantages to it, as it might encourage our species to become more aware of its surroundings, but I overall think that is all what it is. I could also say that it is a pseudoscience for the most part.
7. How did the Earth overcome what MIT and Stanford physicists call statistically miraculous odds to have habitable conditions?
I think you are appealing to the fine-tuning argument. I am sold on the argument personally, but to throw the atheist a bone here, I can easily say a multiverse would explain it, or some other natural phenomenon which we don't know yet.
8. Why does humanity cherish humility and honesty over pride and deceit?
Sociocultural evolution. It has great survival benefits to it, which overtook the other ones. Ethics are illusory, and there is no objective morality on my view.
9. Why do almost all feel compelled to do what's right by helping neighbors? Why is there a norm of reciprocity?
Sociocultural evolution and personal taste.
10. What is our greater purpose?
There is no greater purpose. We are a speck on a bigger speck of dust circling around a vast universe, doomed to perish individually and collectively as a species in a relatively short amount of time. We have no free will. Ethics are illusory, and love is just a chemical reaction in the brain that compels animals to mate. Hashtag embrace nihilism.
And 11. Why is there evil in the world?
Evil doesn't really exist. Evil is simply a biased perspective description of the world around us, which really isn't grounded in anything outside of our brain. Generally, we come to our conclusions of what evil actions are based on survival benefits, group cooperation, and overall net gain for our species, which comes from our presupposition that continuing our species is morally good. Well, I hope you liked this deistic substitution video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.